let's talk about a few of the Joe Thornton trade rumors, because there have been a lot of articles coming out recently about who's on the market, who's available to be traded, and who could potentially be interested in these players. In this video, we're going over Joe Thornton and his apparent list of destinations that he would probably be interested in going to. Now, this isn't a video talking about what teams want Thornton, it's just a video talking about what teams Thornton wants. And even saying it like that is not necessarily correct. This is just speculation as to what his list of destinations would be. Colorado Hockey Now has the story. These are the teams involved: the Colorado Avalanche, the Boston Bruins, the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Dallas Stars, and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, it's obvious that none of these teams are in a position to actually make a move for Thornton unless they actually wanted to get him, and of course that will vary from team to team. However, speculation has arisen that these teams over here, the Avs, the Bruins, the Lightning, the Stars, and the Pens, are the teams that Thornton would be okay with going to. So let's go over each of these teams and see what the benefit is from getting a 40-year-old center who is indeed past his prime. I think everybody kind of knows that. But before we do that, let's go over Joe Thornton's profile this season as an NHL player. Thornton is a guy who has 27 points in 61 games and is a minus 13. His best days were years ago. Years and years and years ago. Of course, we know he's had 200-point seasons in the past. He's gotten 90 a few times, but this season he's at 27. Last season he had 51. The year before that, he was at 36 and 47 games played, and of course, it gets a little bit better the further you go back in time. Joe Thornton is known as probably the best, one of the best playmakers in the modern NHL, and at 6'4", 220 pounds, you're getting a big-bodied player. Thornton this season, even though he's not really getting all the points, he does make the team better when he's out there on the ice. When Thornton is on the ice relative to when he is not on the ice to the rest of his team, the San Jose Sharks get more shots on goal than the opponent, and they score more goals than the opponent. Thornton this year is having a positive year, and he genuinely does make the Sharks better. So, as a guy who's getting out there playing about 12-ish minutes a night per game, you're getting yourself a pretty positive player, a guy who can contribute to the offense once in a while, but who in general makes your team better every time he's out there. So let's go over all these teams and talk about how they can use this player. The Colorado Avalanche could use Joe Thornton as a really good depth piece, a guy to play behind Nazem Kadri when he comes back. Not sure that's going to be anytime soon, but you get the point. They have Gabriel Landeskog over there at center, and they have themselves a Tyson Jost, who is apparently on the trade block as well. If the Avalanche would be looking at this, I'm looking at Tyson Jost and saying, okay, if they're willing to trade this guy, which it apparently seems like they are, then the San Jose Sharks could try that out and trade away a Thornton for a Jost. Who knows how the values are going to be equal on that front if you need to add a pick or two or whatever, but from the roster standpoint, that's the trade that makes sense to me looking at this from the outside. If the Colorado Avalanche want to trade Jost, why not trade him for another center who can contribute a little bit more than a Jost would today? Thornton also, apparently, according to the article here on Colorado Hockey Now, has some family that do live in Colorado. So that makes sense from that standpoint. The fact that the Avs are a good team, the fact that they have a lot of good offensive talent, the fact that he has family there, and the fact that he can actually help them out in the playoffs, if they intend to go all the way, you know. Taking a look at the other teams here that are listed on this list of Joe Thornton appropriated locations, second up is the Boston Bruins. Now, this one did bring itself up quite a bit because of the fact that he is a former Boston Bruin and all that. Returning home, Jumbo Joe is the kind of rumor that's going around there. But the Bruins are kind of in a similar situation, but the Bruins are in a position where they would be interested in probably unloading salary in the future. They need to re-sign a Torrey Krug. They need to re-sign some of their other guys, like a Jake DeBrusk. They're in a position where if they're able to unload some of that salary down the line that they don't feel like they need necessarily moving forward, they would do that. Thornton's a guy who does expire later. He did only sign a one-year deal back in the summer, so he is an appropriate player to add on this Boston Bruins team from a financial point of view. And of course, the same argument can be brought up with Thornton going to the Avs as it could be for the Bruins. He can help them out either in a middle six role or in a bottom six role because he does contribute to offense pretty well, and he does make the team better when he is on the ice relative to when he is not on the ice. Thornton going over to the Bruins, I think, would be really, really cool, but at the same time, I don't know if the Bruins would actually entertain that idea. I'm not necessarily too sure how, let's just say, in the market they would be for middle six to bottom six centers. Just imagine, though, in a best-case scenario, Joe Thornton passing the puck to Pastrnak and Marchand. That sounds pretty deadly, if you do ask me myself. Going over into the next team over here, it's the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, I said with the Boston Bruins that they're a team that I'm not necessarily too sure would want to trade for a forward depth piece on center, but the Lightning are in a position where they kind of already did that. They traded for Blake Coleman a few days ago, and that was seen by most people as an overpayment. Nolan Foote and a first is pretty much just 2 firsts. But if the Lightning are in a position where they want to add another center, Joe Thornton might be their guy. And from Joe Thornton's point of view, it's easy to understand why he would be interested in going to Tampa if a trade scenario to that team does present itself. It's because Tampa is really, really good. They were the best team last year. They tied the wins record. Unfortunately, they got swept in the playoffs, and now they're looking for redemption. Everything is pointing upwards for the Tampa Bay Lightning heading into the postseason, and they most likely will win at least a game. I don't know, that's just me saying things. I'm not a betting man, but I would probably say that the Lightning win a few more games in the playoffs this year than they did last year. And if Joe Thornton is a guy who can come over there and be a part of that, that to me is a very valuable thing. Thornton over there mentoring the young guys. Braden Point's already really good, but he still has a lot to learn. Having a Joe Thornton beside him would be really nice in allowing him to learn that. A power play with Stamkos, Kucherov, Point, and I guess Thornton would be really good. Oh man, all these teams have a lot of really good players already. It's kind of unfair taking a look at it. Dallas is the next one here on this discussion, and Dallas is in a weird spot because they are already in a playoff spot, and it looks like they're pretty secure at the moment. It's just that poor Pacific Division that's kind of throwing a monkey wrench into the whole status quo of the Western playoff scene. But the Dallas Stars are a team that honestly could use a Joe Thornton too if they wanted to acquire another middle six player. They have some really good pieces on the back end in Heiskanen, and oddly enough, Andrei Sekera has been really good this season too, and guys who have the reputation of being good too, like John Klingberg. So, if the Dallas Stars wanted to make a push to finally get past 1 or 2 rounds, who knows if adding a Joe Thornton could be a possible move there. And then finally, we have ourselves the last team on Thornton's apparent trade-appropriated list. It's the Pittsburgh Penguins, and this one is the big one. Thornton with Crosby, Malkin, and Jake Gensel, Bonino, Letang. It's a good list of guys you have over there in Pittsburgh, and if you wanted to add a Thornton, maybe push himself to win another cup, that would be amazing. If the Pittsburgh Penguins can win another Stanley Cup, which I don't really want because they've already won a few, but they do it with a Joe Thornton and finally give him his cup, that's a storybook fairy tale ending right there. That is an ultimate feel-good story, and that would be a very appropriate time, in my opinion, to actually cheer for the Penguins once in a while. But Obviously, this is all just speculation. This is all Joe Thornton's apparent trade rumor list. And none of these teams have sent any offers. It's just teams that Thornton would apparently be okay to go to. So whether or not there is a trade in the works among any of these teams, we will never know until the trade deadline, which is tomorrow. But I hope you enjoyed this video. So, and bye.